Even though we still have a few chores left in the garden, one of the things I get really excited about this time of year is bringing the garden inside and bringing in some colors and bringing in some plants and really kind of cheering things up when everything's starting to get a little bit dreary. So today we're out at Clinton Parkway Nursery and they've just got their poinsettias in, and I'm ready to get some poinsettias to really brighten up my home. And anytime when you are purchasing a potted plant, you want to look for a plant that's healthy. And because poinsettias really come into the greenhouses and nurseries or come into the garden centers for a relatively short time, most of the plants that you're going to find are going to be healthy. But if you found something that had scorched leaves or some of the leaves were yellow or kind of falling off inside, then that might not be your first choice for a plant. So you want a nice, healthy, full plant. Just think about, where you're going to put it in your house and really kind of brightening up that corner or brightening up the table, wherever it's going to be. Now, the key with poinsettias is that they've had meticulous care in the greenhouse, and they come in, or we walk in to purchase them, and they all look great. And so we get home, and then a couple weeks later, they start maybe not looking quite so great. And there are a couple of reasons for that. The biggest one is the watering practices. And I can't tell you how many times I've peeked around, or people have brought me plants or asked me about plants that weren't doing well, or even I've been in an office situation somewhere where I just kind of slip this up out of the foil, and what I find is that there's a big puddle of water in the bottom of this foil wrapper. And so these foil wrappers look really nice, they're very festive, but when you water this plant, what you want to do, what's the most ideal, there are a couple of options of course, but what's most ideal is to just take it out of this foil wrapper, and yeah, they're all in these little plastic pots, that's okay. We're going to set this in a sink or bathtub or someplace where it's easy to water this. You can still use your watering can, so you want to water. And of course, anytime that you're watering your plants, the first thing that you really want to do is stick your finger down into the soil to see if it's dry. And poinsettias especially are pretty sensitive to too wet, too dry conditions. And so when this is dry, that's when we want to water. If it's moist, then we don't water. Pretty simple. But when it's time to water, we're going to set this in our bathtub, set this in our sink, and water until water runs out the bottom of this pot. And that's how we know that the soil is evenly moist and it's going to be the right conditions for our plant. And then, there's going to be a little bit of water dripping out the bottom, so we'll let it sit there for 15-20 minutes and let that drain out really well, and then we just slip it back in our foil container, or back in our foil sleeve here, and it's ready to go back on the table or wherever we're decorating. The other thing you can do if it's really just too much to take it out of that foil every time, and you think, I just have my watering can and water my other plants, so I want to go around and just be able to water my poinsettia the same as I water everything else, is just cut some holes in the foil, just make a couple of slits right here so the water can drain out, set it on a saucer. Pretty simple, and then that removes a step. But really the biggest problem that I see is water staying in there. That's a condition that we call wet feet, and poinsettias don't like it. So they'll start getting yellow leaves and they'll start looking like little poinsettia trees instead of nice poinsettia plants. The one other warning I can give you about your poinsettias is not to set it somewhere next to a door or somewhere that is really drafty. So when you get those cold winter winds, we have those days where the wind's catching the door, it just blows right in every time you open it, no matter what you do. That cold wind is just really going to make these plants stress. They don't like the cold at all, and it's going to be detrimental to their health, and they have a much shorter lifespan. So good watering practices, keep them away from the draft, and you'll have a poinsettia long through the season.